That's exactly what will happen to you if your tracking setup is not working properly during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Before the holiday period, most marketers spend their time thinking and planning their campaign, their marketing strategy, their creatives, but they miss out on looking at their tracking setup. That's why these marketers will spend their time spinning in circles, running around because they discovered the tracking issue while the campaigns are running and they are not sure how to solve it, or even worse, they discovered that after the holiday period. That's why I'm recording this video. I'll show you the top 3 mistakes I see marketers doing during the holiday period when it comes to their tracking setup, and also how to avoid or fix them. So let's get ahead and start with option number 1. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this one. Business spends thousands of dollars on ads, but when they look in GA4, they're seeing most of the revenue associated to direct none in GA4. Why? Because they use the wrong UTM parameters, or even worse, they haven't used any UTM parameters. GA4 is not magic. If your links do not have a proper UTM parameters, it will treat them as an organic traffic. Before you panic, let me show you this free tool that will easily help you solve this issue. Alright, so we're using this free tool UTM Builder for GA4. So what you'll need to do is basically before running a campaign, you'll have to answer these questions and it will create a URL that you can add directly to your campaign. So for demonstration, let's say that we're doing a Facebook ad. So what we'll do is just selecting the channel that we would like this traffic to be grouped under in GA4. So let's say we want this to be paid social. And then let's say that our website is test.com. And let's use Facebook, and let's use social for medium. Campaign name, let's say that our campaign is BFCM. And what the tool will do is it will basically create this full URL that we can just copy and add to our campaign directly. You can replicate the same steps to all of your campaigns. And by the way, if you're facing a side issue with GA4, I'll leave a link in the video description where you can follow this video to solve that unassigned traffic. And by the way, if you're not familiar with UTM parameters, I'll also leave the link to my school web analytics community where I have a crash course that goes deeply on what is a UTM parameters, why you should be using them, and how to use them or apply them to your campaigns. Last year, an ad agency reached out to me saying their data in GA4 for the conversions are doubled up compared to the traffic sources. When I looked into their Google Tag Manager container, I saw that someone from their team have added an additional purchase tag for the purchase event. That caused a double tracking issue for Google Analytics 4. Imagine that you're spending thousands of dollars and scaling your campaigns and you have double counting issue in Google Analytics 4. With that issue, you will not have any clarity on how was the performance or how to measure the data. So let me show you how you can check for that if your setup had that similar issue, and also I'll be showing you how to use AI to help you identifying and fixing this issue. Alright, so I am on my testing store, and what I will be doing is that I'll right click on any part of the screen and hit inspect. Then I'll go to the networks panel over here. I will type collect ? in here because I'm looking for Google Analytics 4 events, or similarly you can just add your Google Analytics 4 measurement ID. Then I will refresh the page. Any event that is sent to Google Analytics 4 will appear in this list. So what we can do is just click on each network request, and by the way, an event here called network request. So once we click on this one, we will see the head that was sent to Google Analytics 4 or any other Google product. So for example, this is a Google Ads conversion ID. So this is not the one that we are looking for, so we're gonna skip to the next one. This is a page view event, but we are not seeing any measurement ID, so we're gonna ignore this as well. We're seeing this Google Analytics 4 stream ID, meaning that this event is for this property in case you have different properties on your website. And if we scroll down here, we're gonna see a parameter called EN, which stands for event name, and the EN value here is page_view. This is the page view for this property. So let's check the other event. We're seeing the same stream ID as the other one, and if we scroll down, we can see another page view. This means that we are having a duplicate page view tracking issue for this property. We have also another property over here, and it has a page view event. Let's look at the last network hit. It is a scroll event here for this other property. So this is how you can check for each event that you have on the website. All what you need to do is just type in collect question mark here or type the measurement ID. So for example, I can just copy this value and paste it here. And what I will be seeing here is anything that is related to this property only. As I mentioned, we'll need to do this for any event. Hit this option and I'll let you know why in a while. So let's hit the preserve rogue option and then go to the website and go to a product page, for example, and we will see the new events coming in here. So this is not an event. We have this event. This is a page view event. This is a view item event. This is another page view event. Again, duplicate page view events. And this is a special item viewed event. This means that we have a duplicate tracking issue with the page view event. You can use AI help to identify if there are any missing event or any duplicate event that are firing within your session without the need of manually looking at each and every network request by simply, as I mentioned, adding the measurement ID or collect question mark and then having the preserve log option enabled and then perform all the events, all the funnel events that you want to test. So for example, we were in the home page, then we went to a product page. Now I'm gonna do an add to cart and complete my way to the checkout pages and placing the order. After I do that, I'll download this activity by just clicking on this download or export HAR option file over here. What this does is that it downloads all the network requests or events that were triggered in our session to our computer. Then we'll need to open this custom GPT that I have created. I'll leave the link to this GPT in the description so you can use it. All what you need to do is just open the GPT and you can use one of the commands that I have added before using it, or you can just attach the HAR file that we have just downloaded and make sure to add the pixel ID. So in this scenario, I was viewing the Facebook pixel events. So if I were using the Google Analytics 4 event, I will just ask it to check the Google Analytics 4 hits, or even better, send this with the measurement ID. So what this GPT will do is that it will count all the events that it detected inside the file, and then it will show you a summary so you can compare if these events are more than what you have triggered below or if it's exactly matching what you have triggered. It also will check for the parameters inside the network hits itself. For example, if you have placed an purchase, like this case, you will see the product ID, product name, product price, currency. You can match this data from the product that you have purchased from your session and determine if the tracking looks good or bad. AI usage is very powerful, but we cannot count on it 100%. That's why this GPT will help you troubleshoot or make sure that your tracking setup is working as expected, but your input or your observation to the output is what makes all the differences. The last and most mistake I see marketers fall into is actually having a consent banner on the website without having a proper consent setup, especially for Google Analytics 4 and Google Ads. Consent setups would take us so much time to explain and troubleshoot, so I'll just give you the juice, what you need to do or what you need to know to make sure that this is not impacting your tracking setup. And also I'll be leaving free videos in the description where I talk about consent setups, how to do it with some tools like Vendecta's OneTrust Cookie Bot, and also how to QA or test if it is working as expected or not. To simplify this, I want you to imagine a user going to your website and then that user see or do not see cookie consent banner, the one that asks you for accepting the cookies. And that banner, when it's accepted, it sends something called GCM or Google Consent Mode values to Google Tag Manager. We use those values to determine if tags should fire or for events if it should fire or not. So for example, if a user accepted the banner, these categories or these GCM values would be granted or accepted, and then this means that we can use this rule to fire tags or fire events. If these tags are denied, if the user declined the banner, we should be seeing a denied values for all these categories, and we can similarly use these values to decide not to block tracking, not to fire marketing tags or events. Here is how you can check this quickly. You can use Google Tag Manager preview mode. So inside your Google Tag Manager container, you can just hit the preview button over here, and what this does, it will open a preview or it will open your website in a new tab. Now on the website, and in this example, I'm not actually seeing any consent banner. However, there is a consent software that is installed on the website. And you might ask me how I was able to identify that. If I open the preview mode tab, which is another tab that is opened once we clicked on the preview button, I would see this consent default push or consent default event. And then when I click on consent over here, I would see these categories. These are the GCM categories that I just mentioned. It has some categories like ad storage, analytics storage, and so on. It is currently set to denied. And if I looked into this consent default, it's another push. And by the way, it should be one push for the consent default, not two. So that's another issue. But in your case, you just need to make sure that the last one has the values that you're expecting, or actually you need to make sure that this is not in place if you don't need, or if your country, if your website doesn't require a consent banner, because this is affecting your tracking setup. So why it's an issue? It's because I am not seeing a consent banner on the website as a user, meaning that I haven't actually declined or accepted the cookie banner. And now if we go back to Google Tag Manager, we can assign or see which tags have the consent condition. So for example, let's open this clarity tag over here that I have. And then if we go to the advanced settings, there is a consent setting over here. If we click on it, it's currently not set, meaning that it's not in use. But what we can do is just use this option, require additional consent for tag to fire, add a required consent category. And similarly, we would see the same categories that we just saw in the preview mode. So for example, we can use ad storage and save. This means that this tag will not fire if the trigger existed, but if the consent didn't have the ad storage category, if the user have declined that category or declined the banner, this tag will not fire. So you might thinking, Ahmed, that's not a problem, because if I'm not aware of any consent setups on the website, my setup wouldn't be impacted. You're wrong actually, because if you looked for any Google tag, so for example, if I looked at a Google Analytics 4 tag or Google Ads tag, expanded the tag over here, go to advanced settings, consent settings, I would see that it is set to not set. However, for Google tags, it has a built-in consent checks that checks for ad storage, ad personalization, ad user data, analytics storage. So what does this mean? It means that this tag will listen to any consent values on the website if it existed. And these consent values, like the consent default, consent update, will only appear if I have a consent platform installed on the website. In case you accidentally added a consent software, or if you're not sure if your tracking setup is consent aware. So this is how you can identify that. Now, if your website does indeed needs a consent implementation, again, the videos in my description should help you with that. So make sure to get these and subscribe for more. If you want to exceed or expand your marketing analytics knowledge, I highly recommend joining my Web Analytics community. The Web Analytics community has a couple of courses that takes you from zero to hero in Web Analytics. It takes you by hand and teaches you what is Web Analytics, who are the businesses who has that function, which tool that you need to learn, why, and how you can build your career around this. We have different courses about Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, cheat sheets. We have bi-weekly meetings, or now they are recurring weekly, monthly as needed. You just post it about the community and we'll make it happen, which leads me to the next thing. We also have threads where you can just post your question, post your query that you are learning, post the tracking issue that you are facing on your website, where myself and other people from the community will jump in and help as needed. That's it. This was Ahmed, and if you find this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you can subscribe to my channel and leave a comment with your questions or the future videos that I should be covering. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one.